Hey, Dr. Tracy Tyson, board certified general pediatrician, and I wanted to tell you a little story. Doctors like myself are really hesitant to tell personal stories online because we are bound by something called HIPAA, where we never want to give someone's medical information. And so sometimes we talk in generalizations when we really have so many stories to back up a lot of what we are saying. We have our evidence, and then we have our own trauma and anecdotal evidence. And so there is a story, I have permission to say this, there is a story that I tell quite often that to me embodies why I will always get my flu vaccination. I will always give them to my children, regardless of our own specific risk factors and whether or not we don't feel good. So first of all, I always give flu vaccination to myself and my children because of the individual benefits. But one of the other reasons why I take one as well as give them to my children is to protect those that cannot. So I had a patient who was really struggling with a chronic disease and needed a transplant. And this was a precious 15-year-old child who was given the news that they were not going to live the rest of their life with this organ in their body. So what are the things they hadn't been able to do? Could we get them to do them? This person wanted to play sports and go to public high school and do all these things that they really weren't able to do. And after they were signed up for school for a few months and getting to play sports and just thriving in the world, they ended up contracting influenza. And they themselves had always had a vaccination, but as we know, if everyone around you does not have a vaccination, you are much more prone to still contract the illness. And so this person contracted the illness, and while he did pretty well because he had had 15 years of having a flu vaccination, caught it early, he was in the ICU for a few days and then got better. While he was sick, he missed out on the opportunity for an organ transplant. And I find out this news as I'm in clinic, and I don't know if you guys realize how much we care about you, but we really care about you, and we go home at night and we worry about it and we think about it and we care. I don't know how else to tell you that. And so I, get off the phone. I'm devastated. Like my heart is just broken for this child and their family. These are lovely human beings. And I walk right into a room because we don't have time to process trauma, right? In medicine, we just have to go straight back to whatever it is that we're doing. And I walk right into a room of another parent. And when I suggest to get a flu vaccination, the mother says, "We don't do flu vaccinations. My children are healthy. There's no reason for that." Just very kind of smug, doesn't ask me questions. And I just burst into tears. And I had to excuse myself because that's not professional. I went back in, I apologized. I told the mom there was no chance I was going to give her child a flu vaccination that day, but that we are human and that there are times where this job can sometimes be really difficult because we know these things that we can't always share with everyone else. We've watched children die or have major medical complications, and those wear on our hearts and our souls. It's called moral injury, and it doesn't go away. And so even talking about this over 10 years later really still has a impact on me. And there are so many of those cases. That's the one that I was the most involved with and I remember the most. And I just always think about how as a community, there's sometimes very little that we can do for each other, but we can absolutely try to protect each other from preventable illnesses. There are some people who can't get a flu vaccination. They have an allergy to it. They don't respond well to it. They have a chronic disease that precludes them from having it. So the rest of us can. We can do that small thing to help protect our community, especially when it's been shown to be safe. It's effective for what it's meant to be effective for. The campaign that the health department had coming out that said it takes it from wild to mild is so true. What the influenza vaccination does is it stops it in your upper respiratory tract. You might get a fever, you might get a cold, you might get body aches and chills where your immune system thinks that it's sick and tries to fight it off. But it's able to fight it off before it causes pneumonia, before it causes acute respiratory distress syndrome, before it causes brain infections and kidney issues and dehydration. But you also shed less virus from your nose, so you infect less people. There are some studies to show that you infect half the number of people, even if you get sick, because you've had an influenza vaccine, because it can't replicate as many of itself and you're not as sick, as well as you're sick for less days. So again, it's another little take on why your primary care provider, why doctors and nurses and healthcare providers are begging people to get their influenza vaccination, is because last year was the worst year we had for pediatric influenza deaths in a decade. And that is because We have changed our mindset, and we've changed much back into a more individual mindset. I understand why, I empathize with that too, but this is something that is really important, and I wanted to kind of talk to you like a human being instead of just giving you a bunch of data and talking to you about things that you may not or even trust right now. But please understand that when we make these recommendations to you, it's things that we do for our own kids because we care and because we have these stories and these people and these experiences that we don't want you to have that trauma, but we want to share it with you. So I hope this lands the way that I mean it to. I hope you can hear how much we care and why people like myself are on here talking about this. I don't make money from doing this. I'm sitting here on my Sunday, but it's important, and I don't want anyone to not hear this information presented in that way, because every day in clinic, when I talk to a family about something like this, they'll say, I've never heard anyone talk to me like that before. I've never heard it explained that way. So hopefully this helps somebody who's not understanding. If you have any questions, please ask, talk to your primary care provider. We are here for you. Take care.